What's up, folks? Welcome back to The Prepared Father, a YouTube channel focused on perpetually obsessing about the nitty-gritty carry options of modern-day 2025, and the show where the opinions are made up and the tactics don't matter. Today, we're going to be diving into the Cyelee SRS8 Green Dot. This is an SRO-style optic for those of us who don't want to sell a kidney to afford a Trijicon. Now we're going to go over what comes in the box, the specs, how it zeroed, and how I tested it, and of course, the pros and cons. And always, this is my opinion, in my opinion only, so keep that in mind before the keyboard warriors assemble in the comments, spouting off some poor hate. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so YouTube doesn't bury my content like a bad range trip. Let's get into it.
So in the box, you get a cleaning cloth. I think I took the cleaning cloth out because I was in need of it, and you'll find out why here in a second. But you get a cleaning cloth, you get the optic itself, you get a fancy little tool that helps you tighten everything down and make sure everything is within spec. On the cards, it talks about zeroing it, how to make sure that you're not messing things up, because if you turn counterclockwise, the dot is going to move down, and turn counterclockwise, it's going to move left, yada, yada, yada. Zeroing card explaining that your best bet is to zero at 25 yards for the tightest group. All right. So a little bit of information, which is always helpful. And one of the coolest things they have here is the absolute ass load of screws for every single handgun you could possibly imagine. You know, for every mounting option you can think of off the top of your head. But you know what would have been really cool is if they took a page out of Vortex's handbook and labeled the screws for different firearms models. Instead, I had to go on an internet scavenger hunt to figure out which ones worked for my particular setup. But, you know, that's not too big of a deal. So thanks, Cyelee, for making me work for it. You also get some warranty info, and, you know, just if you're like me at all, you'll probably ignore it. All right. So this is what the SRS-8, the Chameleon, looks like. All right, let's talk specs. So this thing comes in red or green and has an 8 MOA dot. A very bright, very non-starbursty, because it uses their fancy STIG RS system, which helps eliminate some of the starburst effect people get who have astigmatisms, like myself. It fits in RMR 407C 507C footprint, has shake awake with motion deactivated standby, and Cyelee claims it gets up to 50,000 hours out of a single 1632 battery.
Oh my god! Wow!
1632, they're the second best battery, it's the greatest. Which was kind of hard for me to actually believe, just because typically the 2032 is the ideal battery for optics these days. But hey, you know, until I get proved otherwise, I'm going to be on the 50k hour train. It's IPX7 waterproof, has a top-mounted battery, which is a huge plus. Because in the middle of a match, the last thing you're going to want to do is change this battery. And if you got to pop the top off, pop that whole optic off, and change the battery from the bottom, you're going to hate that. It's got a huge viewing window, or your optic window, which is just over 26.5 by 22.5 millimeters. So that is all the way around. A huge viewing from left to right and huge viewing from up to down, which is something that you really cannot find apart from the SRO these days. So you spec nerds should be pretty happy with this, alright? Now, Cyelee claims these factory zero at 25 yards. You know, but let me tell you, I still had to make some serious adjustments to get this thing dialed in at 20 yards.
You're way off.
Yeah.
Look at that bottom.
Now, that's not a huge deal if you know how to actually zero a dot, but just something to be aware of. Alright? The green dot was bright and continues to be bright. And very crisp. And the SRS system has helped a bunch with clarity. This actually has less starburst than the SRO, at least for me. Alright. Now, for this review, I teamed up with my buddy and USPSA master shooter, DDog. Between the two of us, we put a few hundred rounds through this, and here's what we found. SRS-8 is a direct competitor to the Trijicon SRO, but for literally a quarter of the price. Now, out of all the budget optics out there, Cyelee is definitely in my top 3. Now, I didn't torture test this thing because, let's be honest, some of those tests are just dumb. Wow, it didn't survive being run over by a dump truck? Psh, shocking. Instead, I put it through real-world scenarios, dropping in the dirt. Through drills and seeing if it actually held zero through real world tests. Guess what? It did exactly that. Now that is the shocking part, not running it over with a dump truck. You heard?
You heard? Good. You heard?
Alright, so time for the breakdown, boys. Here's what I loved. Big, giant, bright 8 MOA dot. Great for fast target transitions. Excellent for competitive shooting. If you're looking for a dot to get into the USPSA IDPA world and you're not trying to spend an entire Glock's worth of money, this is for you. I'm telling you, this would be absolutely wonderful for any match scenario. Got a solid motion activated standby mode, which is basically shake awake, and it's always turned on when I needed it. Now, the housing design actually helped protect it from casings. So this lip here, this shroud here, really does a good job of deflecting the brass as it is ejected from the pistol. Now, the SRS system actually works. Less starburst than every budget dot, and even the SRO for me. So that tells you something. If someone as blind as me can see a huge difference in the quality of the dot compared to a $600 optic. Now the downsides. So this optic definitely gets carbon built up fast, especially on my M&P, because this loaded chamber indicator here ejects the carbon right onto the gas. Alright, and after just 200 rounds, there was a noticeable haze. Not a deal breaker, but definitely annoying to deal with, even with the old reliable chapstick petroleum jelly trick, which is really just putting a gentle coating of carbon resistant material on the outer of the lens to catch the carbon before it clings to the optic itself. That kite is pretty tall, you know what I mean? Taller than most of my other dots, which isn't a huge deal because you can still co-witness, just very much lower. Alright, now if you're a co-witness guy, that might be something that you're not really trying to deal with. As you see, you can just barely see the top of the optic from this shot right here. So is this worth your hard-earned money? Your hard-earned Galactic credits? Or New Republic credits? You know, for 199 New Republic credits, and even cheaper than that with code PFATHERC15. At checkout, this code, like it alludes to, gives you 15% off everything, brings it down a good chunk. Now, absolutely, this thing is worth it, especially if you're looking for a budget SRO alternative, in particular for competition or range use. Alright, but for EDC, I'd personally lean towards a more enclosed emitter option. And yes, that might be a hint at some other upcoming reviews, wink wink. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think this is the budget SRO clone that would be worth your money? That hard-earned Galactic credit money? In my opinion, this is the best budget SRO clone out there. And as always, if you had appreciated this video, if you liked it, if you feel like you've learned something about this optic here, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe, and ring that bell, because if you don't, YouTube is sure as hell going to make sure you never see my content again. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. I appreciate you. Stay blessed, stay prepared, and as always, have a blessed day.